OMG, It's Full of Stars by Neil A. Hogan. Captain Ted absorbed the latest information from his ship and considered what to do next. They'd been hunting for precious metals and asteroids rich in minerals to mine, but they'd reached another dead end. If they didn't find something soon, it wouldn't just be the end that was dead. Ted stroked his console lovingly. They'd been through a lot together. He couldn't believe it could really be the end. The end of the mining operations in this area of space. The end of mining generally, as humanity used so much energy that they had moved on to simply recharging on the surface of stars. His ship couldn't do that. It was a simple mining-class shuttle fitted with an interplanetary CB drive, capable of cutting and boring through the most stubborn of space/time surfaces. Complete with standard atom separation and extraction generators, it should have been child's play to bring back an ocean of iridium, or even a lake of diamond, but definitely not a cargo hold full of superheated oxygen plasma. But they hadn't even found that. Humans had been sucking this sector of space dry for thousands of years, and Ted had a feeling that even the minerals that had become recently popular may have already been extracted centuries ago. It had gotten so bad that they'd had to resort to the secondary energy unit that recharged from basic space radiation. The ship was barely able to maintain energy levels at 70%. They'd just bored into this area of space after having given up on finding any scraps in the now planetless TRAPPIST-1 system, and Ted had quickly become despondent. Now they had to wait an hour to recharge. He was about to turn to his feathered first officer, who was also his science and medical officer, and probably countless other positions he hadn't bestowed yet, when a screech of excitement came from the bird-like alien.
"Treasure!"
Khyrks yelled, his hair and feathers bristling up his spine.
"Will be reach."
Ted looked at Shim disparagingly.
Have you been watching old Earth pirate movies again? I told you we don't speak like that. Please turn your translator back on.
Khyrks winked a fat eyelid over the bulbous eye on the left of his head, snapped his beak, then took a deep breath.
"Ah, Captain, 'tis a great booty we shall have,
My most trusted advisor is speaking like a pirate. That's just great.
Dhead rubbed his face in dismay.
I knew I shouldn't have operated on your tongue.
Once Khyrks had found a trigger point, the alien rarely let go. Ted turned back to his screen, his concerns about their future at the forefront of his mind, as his subconscious began to think about what Khyrks had just said. Then the pieces fell into place. What did the damn gender-fluid alien just say? He turned back to Khyrks, and could see a whimsical look of recognition flitter across his beaked face.
"Took you long enough?"
Ted's interest was piqued.
What treasure?
He almost clacked his teeth in reply, such was the influence of Khyrks's constant snapping. Briefly, the exciting thought of treasure flitted across his mind. What kind of treasure? Ancient ruins, refined minerals, billion-year-old remains of shattered neutron stars? Khyrks had never used the word treasure before. It must be something big. Khyrks lifted a wing and swiped it across one of the coloured panels in front of Shim.
"Coordinates 54/40, right in the middle of a black hole binary not far from here, relatively speaking."
Then again, there had to be a worthwhile return on investment. Ted shuddered.
Didn't I say black holes were off limits? The ship can't take the strain, and neither can I.
His first officer's wings drooped a bit, but Khyrks wasn't going to give up on his discovery.
"Well, Captain, technically, we would be going between them. There's enough space between these two to fit a couple of your solar systems in."
Resignedly, Ted took a closer look at the schematic, unconvinced.
I'm not convinced. We've wasted several months already. If this is some kind of trick...
He doubted there would be treasure in this heavily mined part of space, but if it was really something someone had missed, if they could get in and out quickly, perhaps it would mean taking a month off. Then again, maybe the damn bird had got the wrong translation for treasure.
Speed of the orbits of the black hole binary?
"Pretty average for a BHB. We can go in from under or over the elliptic. This far away, gravitational forces will be minimal and balanced."
No chance of a sudden merger? I'd hate to be caught in a gravity tsunami.
Khyrks looked at his console again.
"Well, if we go directly in and out, and don't get caught in either of the event horizons, none. Or if we do, we'll need to get out again within the next billion years or so."
Ted shook his head. Elation to disappointment in under a minute. There was no way he wanted to go anywhere near any black holes, ever. He was terrified of time dilation. He He had already lost 50 years in the past 10, passing too close to slow time fields. But with nothing in this sector of space, it might be his only hope. He sighed, resigned.
I think I've already lost 1 billion years just having this conversation. Now tell me what the hell we're going in for.
Khyrks hit a control, and a hologram of blackness appeared in the center of the cockpit. Ted looked it over but couldn't see anything remotely interesting.
X-ray?
Oh, sorry, I forgot. Different eyes.
He swiped again, and a deep scar in space-time was revealed, X-rays streaming out in bubble-shaped webs.
Treasure in them their hills, Capitan. More energy than you could ever dream of.
Ted shook his head.
If I wanted energy, I could just get a few gravity dams and force a merger of those two black holes. Enough for our star systems for millions of years. Besides, it's just a wormhole, probably to some other universe. But I don't understand why you think this is treasure.
Then Ted heard Khyrks flip his translator back on. It meant the alien didn't have some of the vocabulary to explain it in Dead's language. He turned back to look at him carefully. It must be something really important.
It's not a wormhole, Captain. It doesn't connect to another place in this or another universe. It's a pocket-verse in folded space between these black holes. As far as I can tell, someone engineered it. Someone a lot more advanced than your race, capable of storing energy, amounts of which are off the scale. I'm reading potential energy output that our AI is having trouble calculating.
Ted put his hand into the image and turned the scar around. It was just a sliver in space-time, barely large enough to fit his ship in. But if it was a pocket-verse, he could claim it. He could own whatever was in there, fair and square, then sell it to the highest bidder. He called up the schematics. The tear was broadcasting a massive energy signature, while not actually releasing the energy. Amazing.
All right, a slight hop closer, and then send a drone in with laser communication. Keep us in line of sight. Let's see what's in there.
Khyrks flicked a wing against his panel, and Ted felt the familiar hum of his nervous system as his ship quickly bored a hole in space/time, shot through, and exited about 1 billion kilometers closer. Moments after the hole closed behind them, he felt a soft push as a drone blasted out from below the bow and headed for the scar, its hyperthrusters straining to push it to just under light speed as fast as possible. As some of the drone's detection equipment came online, Ted became more excited. There seemed to be a lot of invisible matter closer to the tear, and the energy signature split into many different signals, showing the entire element spectrum, including some he didn't think could exist in their reality.
You're right, Khyrks. There is something worth checking out in there. Perhaps it is treasure after all.
Khyrks tilted his feathered head to the side as if to say, I told you so. Even at sub-light speed, it was going to take some time for the drone to get to the entrance of the tear, and they really couldn't do much more than wait for the ship to recharge. In which case, as it usually did in these situations, Ted decided a celebratory drink was in order. Even if they didn't find anything, no one knew this tear existed. That would at least give him naming rights in this area of space.
All right, Khyrks. Break time. Let's grab a drink while we wait.
Aye, Capitan, I'll break out the rum. Arr!
A few hours later, and Ted and Khyrks were staring at their spherical hologram in the cabin. The tear was much clearer now, and looked like a teardrop. And like a teardrop, the surface was reflective and enlarging space behind it. Ted shuddered as he saw a dark shape pass behind the tear, one of the black hole sentinels watching over it. Seconds later, the drone broke the surface, and the whole image changed. For a moment, the live stream shuddered, flickered, and blurred as the cameras adjusted to the different frequency levels. Then the image cleared. Ted looked at the hologram in surprise.
OMG! It's full of stars!
He'd expected energy generators, or a neutron star. With the tear so small, he had assumed it would contain something just as small. This was far more than he had anticipated. Hundreds of concentric rings arranged in a spherical shape made of millions of stars, with not much gap between them. How had this not collapsed into a massive black hole? Khyrks flicked the spherical stream around.
We had wondered where some of the remaining matter of the universe had gone. Clouds of hyperheated oxygen notwithstanding. Either these stars have somehow fallen in here, or someone has put them in there.
Ted pointed at the rings of stars in multiple orbits.
The chances of all these stars finding a gravity structure that would freeze them in this configuration is incalculable. Frozen orbits, almost like a mini galaxy. Definitely not an accident. Someone as advanced as to be able to put them there probably arranged the black holes around the tear too.
But why? Why go to all this trouble?
Khyrks twisted his feathered head all the way around, then back again.
We have no record of any of these stars. Even these black hole binaries have been in your records for hundreds of years. This scar must have been here for thousands.
Khyrks flipped the drone's image about again as the feed took them further in, and it revealed a dodecahedron-shaped object sitting at the center of the interlocking rings. Ted looked at it suspiciously.
Now that seems a bit out of place. Do you think it's there to maintain the collection?
Possibly, but I'm more concerned with the time dilation. The telemetry is not picking up any movement of the stars, like the energy is frozen, or being released in a slow and undetectable way.
So, it's a slow time field. We can't enter then, or we'll be stuck.
Khyrks pointed a talon at it.
How is the drone still sending us this feed? I think it is just the stars themselves that are stuck, maintained by that object. Unless the object decides to freeze the drone too, it should be fine. Shall I send the drone closer?
Ted nodded, and Khyrks swiped a new path across the screen and sent it. From this distance, the shape looked to have some strange markings on it. If this was some kind of mysterious object that was going to lead to their deaths, he didn't want anything to do with it. Something wasn't right here. Ted began to feel a bit uneasy, wanting to know more to allay his fears. He stared at the drone, waiting for it to change direction and head towards the dodecahedron, but it didn't. Then he remembered they were at least a light hour away.
In space for years, and I still get caught up by the time distance. For all we know, the drone could have already been destroyed. We won't know anything for 2 more hours.
It has evasive capabilities, so it'll simply record everything without getting too close, until it receives our signal. I'll let you know if anything else turns up.
Dhead nodded.
I'll get on with my other responsibilities.
He got up, forgetting his uneasiness for the moment.
See you back here in 2.
I'll be waiting.
2 hours later, and the drone's video of its flyby of the structure began to stream. The object looked to be a perfect dodecahedron from a distance, but close-up revealed huge hieroglyphs adorning its surface.
My goodness, that thing is huge. What do you think? A Dyson dodecahedron?
How about a Dhead dodecahedron?
Dhead grinned.
I like the way you think. Let's see what some of those hieroglyphs say. Can you translate?
These particular markings are not really a language. Everything is symbolic and open for reinterpretation.
Khyrks zoomed into the transmission.
But they are very similar to the ones in the ancient records of Earth. Hieroglyphs inside the ancient pyramids of Egypt on your planet featured what you called gods. Many of them had a halo or red ball above their heads. The stories were that they were actual stars, or represented their home stars. Perhaps it was the star they'd collected. Maybe they kept them here.
Dhead looked at him incredulously.
Wow, that's a leap. The Egyptian gods were aliens, and they stored their stars here? What for? Safekeeping? Why Egyptians anyway? The universe is huge. It could have been made by dinosauroids millions of years ago.
Khyrks widened his wings, then closed them again.
Worth a try.
Well, let's take your idea and run with it. They existed at least 25,000 years ago, so I think we don't have much to worry about.
25,000 years!
Khyrks was excited.
This must be why we've just discovered it. The black hole binary is now in a similar place to where it would have been 25,000 years ago, only a few hundred parsecs from your star system. A lot easier to find now with such a large population of humans on this side of the galaxy.
But what I don't understand is, why put stars in there in the first place? For what possible reason?
Khyrks widened his wings again.
Your guess is as good as mine.
All right, let's get some answers. Let's get the drone to find an entrance into that thing. Something the size of a dwarf star might mean a few hours of scanning, so
Khyrks gave a slight nod.
Preempting your future order, I set the drone to search for a door and enter the moment it found one. With any luck, it has been searching on its way there and will find one sooner.
The drone's image zoomed in on a hieroglyph that looked like a humanoid figure with the head of a falcon. In its hand was a tiny rectangular shape.
you're kidding me.
Analysis indicates the tiny rectangle is about 1 kilometer long and half a kilometer wide, Captain.
Dhead shook his head in amazement. Then his uneasiness returned.
Wait. A race that can put millions of stars in a hole in space-time, create an object the size of a dwarf star, and guard it with 2 black holes. Why would they let a tiny little drone in this close? I think it's bait.
At that very moment, the picture disappeared.
What?
For a moment, Dhead stared at the blank hologram, surprised, then realized all his fears had been confirmed.
Did it crash? Get it back!
Dhead yelled.
Lost contact,
Replied Khyrks calmly.
Whatever happened over an hour ago.
Then Ted looked up at Khyrks, the hair rising on the back of his neck.
No! Oh no! This is not good! We have no defenses!
Khyrks looked incredulously at him.
Are you being human again? What are you talking about?
Dhead clenched his fist in realization.
It's a trap, and we've just alerted them to our presence.
Panicking, he rushed over to his console and placed his palm on it, activating full security systems.
What are you doing?
Snapped Khyrks.
We'll run out of power too quickly.
We have to get out of here. I don't want whatever put those there thousands of years ago to destroy us. Quick, plot a course away from the black holes.
Khyrks put a wing out.
Look, Captain, the drone could have just had some interference. We were lucky to get that far into the tear and not lose access with all those frozen time fields.
Ted ignored him and activated the reverse thrusters.
My intuition is saying right now that we have to get the hell out of here.
He pushed his palm forward, and the little ship turned carefully. He would take them back through the recently made borehole. Less energy was needed to reopen it. But then, as the ship finished its turn and updated the star positions, Dhead realized something that made his blood run cold.
At least can we claim it,
said Khyrks, still defensive.
We can put in, what's it called, a mining claim. This will be ours.
The captain was silent.
Captain,
Khyrks turned to see Ted's face ashen.
what is it?
You said 1 billion years, right? If we got caught in the event horizon?
Yes, but we weren't. Otherwise, we couldn't have had that experience with the drone.
Ted pointed with a shaking finger at where the black holes should have been.
This tear isn't protected by the black holes. It was created by the black holes. The event horizon has somehow been divided between them, stretched and knotted, to create this bubble universe in the center.
Khyrks looked at him, aghast, his beak open.
But how do you know that?
Dhead activated the hologram in the cabin and pointed to the sky around them. The stars they were used to had disappeared or dimmed. Now all they could see was dull light and multiple red dwarfs, endless blackness with the dead matter of galaxies too dim to be visible. Khyrks did not close his beak. As the information continued to stream, he fell back into his nest chair in shock. There was no way that could have happened in 1 billion years. It must have been a lot longer.
Well, have we gone inside the pocketverse somehow? Somehow linked to the drone?
Tears came to Dhead's eyes.
Billions of years have passed, Khyrks.
He gasped.
Billions and billions. It was a trap, one that kept us here until the universe was dead.
He was shaking. It was over. His whole life. His friends, Earth, everything. Gone long, long ago. He went bright red with anger, then yellow with guilt, then green with nausea, and finally white with fear, as the sheer horror of the situation enveloped him.
I didn't know you could do that,
said Khyrks. But the alien knew that the time for jokes was over. At that moment, Ted gripped the side of his chair, slid down to the ground, and blacked out. An hour later, and Khyrks was hopping about the medical bay. A bot had carried Ted to one of the beds for Shim. The first officer had never seen his captain like this, and was quite worried. But this was not the time to be idle. With the energy of the ship stable, the food synthesizers maintained, the water formation units continuing to combine oxygen and hydrogen, and everything else running reasonably efficiently, Khyrks had been able to ascertain with some certainty they had 2 months left to live. Not the best outcome. But what other outcome could there be? Khyrks had moved his equipment into the small medbay room to keep a close eye on Ted. If the captain was correct, and this was a trap run by superior aliens, they might want them for something. Though, if the aliens that had built this had built it for a reason, what was that reason? And why was the tear still there? Khyrks could see that the tear hadn't changed in billions of years, and those pieces of dark matter that had collected around it seemed suspicious, even familiar. He could detect them from the sheer lack of anything in those points of space, like holes in the background radiation. Another mystery. Khyrks scanned the closest hole, then set the AI to extrapolate. What if it was something in a slow time field? Something that couldn't emit any light or energy at all? A dense asteroid? A chunk of dark matter? Could the AI invert the empty shape and estimate what it could look like? Maybe the minerals and elements they'd been looking for had been around them all the time, just undetectable at their time speed. The AI came up with its answer, and Khyrks snapped his beak in surprise. What was going on? Then the image became frighteningly bright and turned black. Khyrks rubbed his eyes and removed the filter on the image. Somehow it wasn't a hole anymore. Time had returned to normal for it.
Dhead, wake up! Come and see!
There was a groan from the medbay table, and Dhead held his head.
Please tell me it was a dream.
Afraid not. But this might be...
Khyrks flicked a wing, and a new hologram appeared against the medical bay wall. The dead universe in the background, with little points of light suddenly winking into existence in front of it. Khyrks slid a feather across a section, and one of the points of light resolved itself to be a ship of some kind. Then it zoomed out and was quickly replaced by another and another as Khyrks continued to pass a feather through random points.
They're all ships?
Muttered Dhead incredulously.
There must be thousands.
Hundreds of thousands! I'd say enough to settle an entire planet.
Dhead shuffled closer to the hologram and began poking some of the lights. And then, as though a veil had been lifted, even more ships appeared. Thousands more. Some were more advanced versions of the one Dhead had been piloting. Some looked so alien he could barely comprehend them. Had the dodecahedron ship just been concealing them all? Had it created a super Sargasso Sea in space, dragging them all to their deaths? Charles Fort would have been proud.
It looks like we're not the only ones trying to get the treasure,
said Khyrks.
I guess the punishment for trespassing was 13 billion years.
Is that how long we... God damn it!
But look, Captain, you've practically got selections of your race across the ages here. There's even a ship out there from your early 22nd century. Certainly some from the 30th, and I'd assume many from much later on. The aliens have been collecting ships for billions of years. How amazing would it be to meet everyone?
Always the positive one.
Just then a sound rang through the ship like the polite tinkling of a metal bell, and an almost ethereal voice spoke, sounding like thousands of singers in harmony.
Hello, wonderful people. Thank you for making the journey. We have been waiting for you.
In the medbay next to Dhead and Khyrks, a much smaller glowing replica of the dodecahedron appeared. Dhead got off the bed and stood up, ready to face whatever this alien planned to do with them.
Captain Dhead, First Officer Khyrks,
spoke the shape. No doubt it was addressing others on the other ships at the same time.
Thank you for making the journey to the end of time. We are so overjoyed that we have our treasure back.
I guess, now that we've served our time for trespassing, we're free to go?
The dodecahedron spun slightly, then continued speaking.
Go? Where would you go? There's nothing left out there. Well, nothing yet. We will use these stored suns to recreate the galaxy.
So, that pocket verse was like a backup battery for the universe?
Asked Dhead disbelievingly.
You kept them so that you had energy for when the universe ran out,
added Khyrks.
Your treasure.
The dodecahedron shuddered, as though laughing.
The stars? Oh no, they're not our treasure, but we do need them. After all, what's the point in using the stars to create a new galaxy if there's no one about to enjoy it?
What are you talking about?
Asked Dhead.
My dear Captain and First Officer,
said the being.
I am a mere AI, created to serve the human race in its dying days and sent back in time with a solution. You and all the other ships here, along with the hoarded stars, will keep humanity running for another 1,000,000,000 years or so.
Incredibly, the dodecahedron shape seemed to bow. As it faded away, it said,
You are our treasure.
Ted collapsed back onto the bed as the thoughts of rebuilding the human race began to overwhelm him.
Well, Capitan, not quite the treasure I was expecting. Arr.
Oh, please, just shut up.
Said Dhead.